I was recently talking with someone about taking classes here at the academy, and they shared with me that their child had trained somewhere else previously, and they were attacked at school. They were attacked by two people, and the parent was disappointed that the martial arts really didn't do anything to save their child from that situation. All that training didn't end up being very useful. And first of all, that's a terrible situation. I'm always sad to hear about those kinds of things. Obviously, kids shouldn't have to worry about that in school. But whatever the case, I want to remind you of a few things if you're wondering why your martial arts training may not save you from a situation like the one I described. First of all, understand that we do all kinds of things that are the term we love. They are mitigation strategies to help keep us safe and less likely to be harmed. So we wear seatbelts. It doesn't guarantee that we won't die in a car accident. We might eat healthy. It doesn't guarantee that we won't have a heart attack. We may have a medical procedure that we go through, but it doesn't guarantee that we will stay healthy after that procedure. These are all things that we do knowing that it's a better shot at staying safe than not doing anything at all. So remember that having some training in any kind of martial art is going to be better than nothing at all when it comes to keeping yourself safe from harm. Even just having that added physical edge is good, but it's not a guarantee. Clint Eastwood said, if you want a guarantee, you should buy a toaster. And that's unfortunately the case with martial arts. Now, there are lots of fun movies. You know, I love the TV show Cobra Kai. And if you've seen it, there's a scene where one of the characters, just after a few months of martial arts training, they just take out a lunchroom of other kids at the school that are picking on him. I mean, he just mops the floor with them, as they say. And that's great. It's entertaining, it's fun, and it's motivating. You know, it inspires a lot of people to take classes, to get up off their butt and do something that's good for them. So that's great. Is it an accurate depiction of reality? No. The honest truth is, if you're doing martial arts training at an average level, if you're not trying to become a superhuman, well, you'll gain a slight edge over someone who's not, provided they're similar size and strength level to you. So if you're looking at being attacked by multiple people, well, you can make it look like a movie. I, for example, have a fair amount of martial arts training, right? If I were attacked by, say, 10 5-year-olds, I think I could manage that situation pretty easily. Now, if I were attacked by 2 full-grown average adult males, that gets a lot harder. I'd have to get lucky to manage that situation, as far as being able to dominate both of them. Now, there are strategies you can use to try to get out of a multiple attacker situation, but to be able to dominate that situation, you're going to have an incredibly high amount of force with you. So, if you think of it like your skill, your size, your strength, all these things, when run through an equation, give you the number that is your fighting capability. And say one person is valued at 50, and because you've done martial arts, you're valued at maybe 65, so you have an edge over them. Now you throw in another person that's valued at 50, and they have a fighting skill level of 100, and you only have that 65. You see, that's a lot more to overcome. So, rather than trying to fight them, the only thing you can really do is learn to move in ways that you only deal with one at a time and then try to get out of that situation. The other option, and this is not one that will work in a school system, is to have a weapon with you that amplifies your fighting skill number so high that you can outdo both those attackers. So let's say you have a firearm with you. Well, now your fighting skill level's at 1,000 instead of 65, right? Because you have so much more potential force with something like a firearm. Doesn't have to be a firearm. It could be a knife, could be a stick, a flashlight, any kind of object that can be used as a weapon will amplify your numbers there quite a bit. But you can see a lot of those things have nothing to do with unarmed martial arts training. So when you're wondering why that martial arts training didn't work, it just doesn't give you the edge you'd need to deal with all those attackers. The only thing it can do, if you're training the right system, it can teach you to move away from them potentially. And that's something we look at with Hapkido and Aikido, for example, is sometimes just how to get out of a multiple attacker situation like that. It's not part of Taekwondo or most other martial arts, actually. So don't be surprised if you don't see that kind of thing. And then remember that the primary purpose of training in martial arts isn't even self-defense related. Self-defense is about staying safe from harm. Martial arts is about dominating someone else when you're talking about the fighting side of it. So if we're looking at Taekwondo fighting, we can, when someone goes into a match, we can see most of the variables they're going to be dealing with. We know the type of floor they'll be on. We know the type of attacks that will be thrown at them. We know what attacks won't be thrown at them because they're illegal. We know what they'll be wearing. We know approximately the size of the other person, the height of the other person, the weight of the other person, all those things. So we can do a pretty good job of preparing a student to be successful for that environment because we know most of the variables going into that situation. When you're talking about fighting or violence outside of a class setting, a tournament setting, the variables are endless. And so to prepare someone to deal with an endless set of variables is significantly more difficult. And it's why the chances of using a martial art to successfully use violence against someone outside of a tournament setting, well, it's slim because all those variables make it difficult to prepare them for that said situation. Is it better than nothing? Absolutely, it's better than nothing. But if you're talking about self-defense, your best strategy is not getting involved in the situation. So let's talk about the school, for example. If your child is having a tremendously hard time at school, and they're getting harassed and bullied, there are a lot of things you can do, obviously trying to talk to the teachers. I know that doesn't always work. You can have your child try to get away to certain safety points where they know they won't be bullied, run to a classroom where there is a teacher present. And if the problem continues, you can always move your child out of that school system. You can homeschool. All of those things are going to be better options than trying to train the child to be able to beat up the students who are harassing them. Now, is it good to know how to stand up for yourself and not be intimidated by someone who's attempting to use physical violence on you? Yeah, that does have value, definitely. And it's a good thing to know and be aware of. And martial arts does a decent job preparing someone for that kind of thing. But again, it doesn't have a guarantee to it. And if you're talking about a school system, you have dramatically different sizes between students because you might have the difference between a freshman and a senior and the development of those two students. That could be the difference between a child and an adult, basically. And there's nothing really that you can show that child that will save them from someone as physically dominant as the senior in this example. It's just the unfortunate cold truth of reality there. So yeah, martial arts does not offer a guarantee. It's better than nothing, and its primary function is not self-defense, because self-defense, once again, is not the fighting side of things so much as it is the being prepared side of things, looking at ways to avoid situations. And then if you get in a situation, understanding that the best way to hurt someone is not with your bare hands, but with a weapon. And of course, in school systems, that is not an option. So you have more options when you go out into the real world. But obviously, that's a sticky situation because you're now dealing with potentially going to court and the legality behind your actions. So that's a whole other side to self-defense, which is in fact a legal term. So you can see how it's different from learning to practice martial arts. These are some of the reasons why martial arts may fail you if you're attacked, if you call that a failure. Because I would say that that's not the function of martial arts as a whole. I would judge martial arts by whether or not they're making you a better person. If they're failing to make you a better person, that's a failure of the martial art. If they're doing that, then the martial art is working. If it doesn't protect you against physical violence, that's unfortunate, and it's sad that it didn't have that effect for you, but it's outside of what martial arts should be done for. I hope that helps.